3rd, 2025 council meeting to order. If we stand for the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Rabe?
Here.
Dalby?
Here.
Armstrong?
Here.
Beach?
Here.
Stones?
Present.
Lane?
Here.
Mayor Richardson?
Present. We will start this in public comment right now. First, before we get into anyone that might have public comments, we're going to introduce the state champion cross-country team that I understand has a slogan called Fly, Gaggle, Fly, and recognize their accomplishment. I would manage to dig out two old, and I will recognize old, they probably printed about the time of the Gutenberg Bible, but 1972 and 73 Indianola yearbooks, that was the last time that Indianola won state cross country. So you're looking at 52 and 53 years ago. And I just wanted to give you a brief point here of the fact that a couple of folks that were on that team for 2 years, they won back-to-back titles. That was Mike Burns, John Essig, John Strovers, Sean McGuire, Jeff Alsop, and in the fall of 71, it would have been Marty Klein was the fifth one that ran in that particular race. They were also state 1 mile champions, and for you folks to do what you've done, and 50-some years later, it's a great accomplishment. So, Coach Barnes, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like you to introduce your team, if you would, that ran, and maybe the placing they finished, if you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be a challenge with the placing just because individuals get pulled out and stuff. It's easier to remember
Just
the order
whatever you
they
wanna do.
run, but
Why don't you just give us your varsity runners? And then go from
Sure.
there.
So working from 7 to 1.
Okay.
Owen Welling over here is our number 7 runner. Number 6 is not present. I think he has a stress fracture. So in fairness, I got that message today.
Okay.
Unless he's hiding somewhere. And that is Sam Apple.
Okay.
Number 5 then would be Isaiah Thompson right over here.
Yeah.
Number 4 would be Jake Scooby-Doo Rubidoo right up front. Number 3 would be Paxton Blue. And number 2 would be a kid named Kiefer Barnes, I know pretty well.
Yeah.
And then our top guy is Reed Robbins, right front and center.
Congratulations. I saw you guys a couple times this summer when you're over at the park getting loosened up and stuff. So congratulations. What I want, absolutely. What I'd like to do, if I can, I want the council to stand here in front of the dais and in the order that we are right here. And then if the team would come up and maybe join us there, that'd be great for a photograph and some recognition.
Let them get situated first, then we can move in there and kneel if we need to or whatever. I mean, short guys like me don't have to.
It's gonna be taller than me.
I'm going back. Get that in the center, so.
Okay, come on in.
Come on in.
Okay, this way. Okay, guys.
I was kidding.
I know, but we're gonna get these guys in here.
Go ahead, guys. You know how to pose for them.
Some tall guys back there first. Some pretty tall guys back there first.
Find the gaps here, guys. Find the gaps. Find the gaps.
We gotta block out these city council.
No, find the gaps. Find the gaps.
Tall guys on one knee.
Tall guys on one knee.
Okay. Move forward so that the second runner, you're gonna be up front. You guys can actually do that and get back up.
Yeah, there we go.
Everybody in the front row.
There we go.
Now, one of you just lay across the knees, the others.
There we go.
Second row. Go ahead.
Let's go.
Slide back behind these guys here. There we go. There we go. Find a spot. There we go. And I think
I thought you were laying that.
Yes.
Right here.
That's how I saw it.
okay.
Just lay in front, feet up in the air.
Yep, set it right there.
Straight forward.
You can stand right there. That should be fine.
Right here. Coaches?
Can I block anybody?
Stand between us.
Right there. Coach, over here.
Coach Garrels, you are being
Put this
demanded,
together over here.
demanded to get over there.
Only me, there are 3 people.
Well, you just for me. Right over just a little bit. Same knee. Match knees. Put your foot out.
Lefty is this
Left. Just getting in the front. Put your foot out a little bit. Put your foot out
We should
flat.
give them like gravity.
Photobomb the picture.
Yeah, right. Word.
Yeah, keep the adults aligned, that's
I
right.
think Mark will notice, right?
Okay, can you come forward just a tiny bit? That's it. Okay. Best shot, please. Good. Here we go. One more time.
And then after that, if the families want to come up and take a photograph, you're more than welcome.
Thank you. Will be one more set of pictures before that.
Well, I understand that.
Okay.
There'll be another set of pictures from Mr. Young there too, so.
A wing on a goose.
Aaron, I anticipate this will be on the, in just a second, well, yes.
Here we go. Right here, please, right in the lens. Great, your turn.
Yep, Mayor, I know what you're going to say. It will be on the website and on social media for the city, so
Okay.
you guys will be even more famous than you are already. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. All set.
Any members of the families wish to take photographs, go right ahead.
Knees, boys.
Fast. Fast. Paparazzi.
So we're not missing.
Are we good?
You're both.
All righty, thank you, folks. Congratulations, gentlemen, a great honor. You got it.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, thanks for coming.
Grandma shares you all the time.
Remember, we got ESPN tomorrow. Not Ocho.
We're on not top 10.
Yeah, I gotta stay.
Good to see you.
We have a lot of questions. Get it.
Lucky you.
Jumping. You know what's actually?
Yourself? Yeah, congratulations. No, I got you.
Okay.
I know.
No, I just need to.
Say, was it something we said, or?
Yeah, you can make it hair dye.
Yeah, I kind of have to. So. Last time it was freezing cold in here, so I wore a big sweatshirt. Now tonight I'm like dying.
You sure?
Yeah, so good.
Positive?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we were here this morning and it wasn't warm, I don't think. I remember, I guess. I think that was comfortable too, because it did stand out.
It's above 70. in
Warm in here.
here. Body temperature raising it.
Hold on, it's maybe officially kicked in
Wear
for
my
the
extra thick
season.
sweatshirt because last time I got cold just with my thin sweatshirt.
He has a heat, like the heat is in his season.
Okay, for public comment. We ask that anybody that wishes to speak, please do so. Come forth and give us your name and address. And if there's a topic on the agenda that you prefer to speak on at that time, fine as well. If you are going to speak, we do try to limit that to between 3 minutes or so. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in public comment? Hearing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be pulled? Hearing none, I take a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Mr. Meshke, it's all yours.
Excellent. Starting at D, approval of applications. All of the approvals for the liquor license renewals as well as the issuances have all been reviewed by the staff and have been inspected if they were due for an inspection at this time, and all recommend approval. Item E is ordinance amending municipal code, third consideration. This is for a duplex townhome development at the intersection of Highway 92 and South Spruce Street. It was previously used as part of Harold's Trailer Sales. And F is a third consideration, adoption of ordinance amending code of ordinances pertaining to zoning. This would align our code with changes in state law. Item G is a resolution to approve a letter of intent to support the Rural Business Initiative Grant Program. This is support for Indianola Main Street. If successful, they would receive a grant of at least $30,000 to support small businesses for capital costs, soft cost trading, or strategic planning. Item H is a resolution accepting a proposal from Hodges Farm and Dredging for biosolids land application. This is a $95,000 contract for hauling biosolids from the storage tank. We will be using budgeted funds, $35,000 in reserves as well. This will leave a balance of just under $600,000 in the wastewater reserve fund. The budget dollars will be adequate in the future as we will finish hauling from the lagoon facility. Item I, resolution determining water resource recovery department property as surplus. This would be surplusing a generator, snow blower, and a hydraulic power unit. Item J, authorizing contracts with the shredder, MedShred for medical waste disposal services. Currently, we have multiple providers for biomedical waste disposal at our facilities. Multiple quotes were received, and we are recognizing savings by consolidating under one company who provided a very competitive rate. Item K would approve urban renewal designations for tax abatement for 12 properties. And item L, resolution approving salaries, is part-time positions at the IWC.
Any questions on anything on the consent agenda? Jake, I just have one on item H. Is that from the old wastewater treatment facility, or is that from the new one?
It'd be from the new one.
Okay, thank you. With that, then, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. I guess we are up for the Council's Government presentation from MIPA, Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance, and that would be Mr. Andrew Collins.
Yes, thank you. Mayor, Council, thank you for having me. My name is Andrew Collins. I'm the Executive Director of the Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance, and tonight I'm here to talk to you all about councils of governments. My goal tonight here is twofold. One, to give everyone an overview of what MIPA does, who it is, all the things that it does to help member communities, and to give an overview of the COG designation initiative that we may be undertaking subject to board approval. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. So as an overview, MIPA was organized back in 2021/2022 to assist local governments in the 7-county area, Polk County and all the surrounding area, sans Madison County. It was named the economic development district, I should say, for Central Iowa by the United States, not Iowa, Economic Development Administration in the spring of 2022. So that quote at the bottom there about our assistance being oriented to supporting communities based on individual need while thinking regionally, that comes out of our bylaws and is something that we hold fast to as we provide services for communities. So just as a quick recap, communities pay 15 cents dues per capita for dues. And that's a yearly due structure. Generally, we use that funding to match a planning grant we get from EDA, provide grant writing services, grant administration, other technical assistance that's pretty widespread. But basically, a lot of communities utilize us for grant administration and grant writing, since that is a service that we do provide that's covered as part of your dues. And so we also do work on behalf of communities for contracted services, so whether that's writing comprehensive plans, housing needs assessments, administering owner-occupied repair programs, everything in between, we can do that as well. And so we also provide support for several what we call affiliate partners or regional entities that the City of Indianola and other communities participate in or benefit from. So I'll go through those really quickly. SERPTA, which I believe many of you would be familiar with, that is a regional planning organization that is sanctioned by the Iowa DOT. We are Regional Planning Affiliation 11. We cover a 7-county area. It used to be 8, but all of Polk County got swallowed up by the Des Moines MPO, so now we cover a 7-county area. There's about $7 million of federal funding every year that gets decided and allocated to communities through this organization. City of Indianola receives a sub-allocation as well as communities over 5,000 and counties. So every year, City of Indianola receives funding from this organization, on top of a few other things that we do. But that's the genesis of what this is. It was created in 1994. Some of you might have been familiar with this when it was administered through the Des Moines MPO. I've been working with SRPTA and the city since 2014 when I began working at the MPO and now working at my role in MIPA. Other things that we do, we recently took on the Workforce Development Board for Central Iowa. So that one's a little different. That funding directly comes from the federal government. It's about $2 million a year. It goes towards providing upskilling and other services, case management for different dislocated worker, youth, and adult services. That is fairly new, so don't ask me a ton of questions about it. Feel free to ask questions as they come about, but that is something we started fairly recently. Beyond that, we also administer a owner-occupied repair program, mostly in the suburbs of Des Moines. That is also new, but that is organized via 28E, and we work with all the metro communities listed there to make sure that we get repairs done to various homes in those communities. So we administer 3 separate housing trust funds. The one most pertinent to here is the Central Iowa Housing Trust Fund. This one was created back in 2019, 2020. It's a 501c3. It includes the 4 counties, Warren of which is one of them. It receives the 4th most amount of funding of all housing trust funds in the state of Iowa. It gets over $500,000 a year. That has gone to a variety of different projects here in the Central Iowa region since its inception, providing over $4.5 million to different housing projects. We do a couple other housing trust funds. I won't get into those since this doesn't really apply to the city of Indianola, but Story County Housing Trust is one of them, as well as the Dallas County Local Housing Trust Fund. Again, this one's a little new. We've been taking a lot of stuff in the last year. There's a lot of call for our services, and we're happy and excited to provide that. So as a quick,
Could I just ask you a real quick question on that? So types of things that the housing trust funds would do.
Yes.
Can you kind of give an idea of maybe what that would be?
So all 3 of them are separate legal entities. You have to be 501c3s in order to be a state certified housing trust fund. That means they receive funding from the state every year, real estate transfer tax. There's also RIFT, and there's a couple other funding sources in there. But to that point, it's really up to the local housing trust fund to decide how they spend that money. So in Central Iowa's case, the funding all goes to organizations to fund their projects. For example, Heal House received a large sum of money over the last couple of years to get that up and running. Marion County Habitat receives funding every year to implement an owner-occupied repair program that they do in their county. So we aren't the ones actually going out and doing the projects in this particular case, but it's funding organizations, communities to do those projects. And so they also provide the local match that's required. And so that's why we don't ask cities or counties for any local match for the Housing Trust Fund, because it's all provided by the applicants.
Thank you.
Yep. So just as a quick board structure, we have a lot of members. We have 70 member communities, and so we actually have about 75 board seats. So the board of directors, the overarching board, every community has one vote on that, so they each has one representative that attends that. They meet, the board, overall board meets about once a year, twice a year, to do a couple of different things, but mainly to set the budget and provide guidance to the organization. A subsect of that is the executive committee, which the city is also on, and that meets monthly to just do day-to-day operations. That's all spelled out in our bylaws. I just wanted to give everyone an idea, just the scope of which we have for our governance structure, and happy to answer any questions on that as well. So now that you know a little bit about MIPA, we'll talk about councils of governments and why we're trying to become one. So many of you probably aren't familiar with those concepts. As you can see, we have COGs all across the state of Iowa, kind of a little hole in central Iowa, but they were created over 56 years ago to provide professional planning, programming, technical assistance to communities. So I won't read that whole thing there, but essentially about 55, 60 years ago, regionalism was very popular, not only in the state of Iowa, but in the United States. So you had these regional governments, not really regional, they're not really governments, but they call themselves that because they're made up of their membership, which is cities and counties, which were organized to provide services at a holistic regional level, the idea being that a lot of communities can't do everything themselves, so they would have this organization to call upon when needed to do various activities that they may only do once every 5-10 years. So that's the idea behind them. And so you have all these council governments across the state, and we do not have one here in central Iowa. And so a little more history lesson. Although COGS kind of predate this, they were officially codified back in 1968 by Executive Order 11 by Governor Harold Hughes. I do believe that executive order has actually been removed just because the Office of Planning and Programming no longer exists and hasn't existed for a long time. But in general, they were created back then. The idea being that we have these regional governments, regional councils of governments, and that we should have a coordinated system and a way to make sure that when state services or federal services are provided, it's in a cohesive manner. And so there was a study that was commissioned to look into that. And so that was called a regional delineation for the state of Iowa. That methodology resulted in 16 areas of the state to be identified as potential areas to become councils of governments. They were officially codified in 1990, so you have that little time between when the executive order happened and they were officially codified in state code in 1990. They've had a few changes since then. Back in 2007, there was actually a COG added to the list, so that's kind of what we look to when we're thinking about becoming council of governments, how that process went. And so ICOG, if you've ever heard of that, is just the state association that all the COGs are part of. So you can see at the top, that's the original map that was created out of that 1967-68 report. Then you can kind of compare that to the map of COGs at the bottom. As you can see, it's pretty much the same. There's some slight tweaks here and there. But overall, we've had the same structure here in Iowa since 1950. And you can see there's a number 11. I think that's why we're RPA 11. But there was a council of governments in central Iowa that went defunct in 1980, 81. Steve, you probably know that better than I. But it is no longer around, and we have not had a council of governments since then. And so I just want to note that it's all based on joint cooperation. There's no requirements that anyone be part of them. It's all based on the fact that these services are needed and communities desire to have them. And so we want to point out too that COGS, it sounds ominous to hear council of governments, but there is no taxing authority. There's nothing like that. It is truly all voluntary organizations that cities and counties just agree to be a part of. And so in 28H, I mentioned they were codified in 1990. There's a series of lists. One, it lists all the council of governments. So that's, if you want to be an official council of governments here in Iowa, you have to be on that list. So as part of this process, we will have to go through the legislature to get our name added to that. But just want to note that is the official list right there in 28H. And so they have a couple other things it's a pretty short chapter. I think it's only 2 pages, but it just talks about coordinating regional community development, to assist community development, coordinating delivery of community development programs and services, which is something we already do, and they're preparing a regional community development plan, which we already do as well. We have a SEDS that's required as being a economic development district, and so we already have to do the plan anyway. So you might ask, why even become a COG? If we're already doing a lot of the things, all of the things that COGs already do, why actually seek that COG designation? Well, there are a couple of things. One, we get more money. The state actually does provide COG assistance. It's not a lot. I have 13,000 up there. It's probably closer to 20. But generally, the COGs use it for their just operations, just help paying staff to go out and provide more technical services for communities. But it would also allow us to be part of the ICOG network, that when there are state implemented programs and projects, they utilize that COG network. Because we haven't had a COG, the services are still happening. They're just done by outside entities. And you guys don't know that because you're not part of the process. And so that's one reason that we would like to be a part of that. The other one is that we would get access to iPay. I hope everyone's familiar with that. It is an awesome banking system we do not have access to right now. And we handle a lot of government funds. And it would be awesome to be able to access the same tools that cities and counties are afforded. Not to be selfish, but also access to IPERS. That is one thing we don't have. I truly consider ourselves public employees, and we don't have access to that. That would also be a great retention tool. We've hired a few staff people lately, and it has been more challenging because we do not have access to the state retirement system, even though we're asking our employees to basically be public employees at many different levels. So that would be a benefit to us as well. And then just in general, that codification and being that COG really sets us apart as being the go-to entity when communities have questions or comments that you wouldn't think that designation would matter a lot, but I guess it rose by any other name, but not really in this case. So might mention drawbacks. I would say education is probably the biggest hurdle because there was a council of governments here before. I think there are some long memories, I think, especially in the Des Moines Metro on that. And the previous council of governments, what happened there had nothing to do with being a council of governments, everything to do with how that organization was structured, and we are structured very differently from that. And so just to illustrate that point, I put up some pictures of all the COGs celebrating their 50th plus anniversaries across the state. They've been very successful at bringing in tens to hundreds of millions of dollars over the years to their regions, and that is one of the reasons why MIPA was created, is because there was funding out there that we were not receiving, and we needed to make sure we had the resources to access those funds for our communities. And so I have the kind of regurgitation here. This is more so that you guys have it than I need to read it, so I'll go ahead and skip that. But the steps, next steps. So how do we become a COG? Essentially, we need to petition the legislature to add us to that list. Sounds simple. It's not, but it is the process we need to go through. And so in order to do that, we are having conversations. We've had conversations at the executive committee level. We've also done some reach out to communities offering to come present at councils. And then eventually, or well, not eventually, but in December, we will schedule a meeting of the full board of directors to vote on whether we will be able to see COG designation or not. So that is really the next steps of the process. And then kind of questions we've received to date. So this is just kind of an additional slide I've added. We've gotten the questions of, will this raise MIPA's dues? No, we have no plans to raise dues in the near future. I can't speak for 20 years out, but in general, we recognize the financial constraints that communities have. So the less burden we can be on communities, the better. If we need to raise additional funds, we'll just do better and more work for everybody. It's kind of the motto there. What funding would MIPA receive designated COG? That 12,000, really 20,000, just to help with operations. We get that question more than you think, even though I say it, but I want to reiterate that. And then what would MIPA, what MIPA does to support communities change because of this designation? And no, that's the big takeaway I want everyone to get from this. The activities that MIPA does for communities, all of the organizations that we work for, that is set by our bylaws and by what our communities tell us to do. The COG designation is just that, a designation. It helps give us access to tools to better serve our member communities. So whether or not we receive COG designation, we'll still be out doing all the things we typically do, we traditionally do, or more, depending on what you guys want. But that just want to make that known. None of what MIPA is going to change through this process. And then the call to action is just your support throughout this, voting yes when it comes time, and then hopefully working with local legislators. We have a lot of legislators in our region and across the state, and we are working to build up that support network. But before we can really go too far, we need to make sure that we have that support from the board. So with that, I think that's it. Yes, questions, comments, everything in between. Thank you for having me tonight, by the way.
I had one question. So you had mentioned you guys offer grant writing for free. Is that subject specific?
It truly does depend. I mean, there are so many grants out there. I can't say we're experts in all of them. CDBG obviously is a big one for us. That's helped get that funding for the downtown. WTFAP, that we helped the city receive $500,000 through that process for your wastewater facility that you just built. So I like to think of it as horizontal and vertical infrastructure is what we really are good at. But yes, it's a long-winded answer to say, but yes, we will help with anything communities want. Just whether we're experts or not, I can't speak to everything. That's my point.
Thank you.
Just to clarify,
Sure.
because these guys over here were laughing when you made the 1981 comment. In 1981, actually about 1984, I was in a small town of Stanwood, Iowa, as a school teacher there. And I was appointed to do the planning, or to be the zoning administrator for that community. We had a situation where Highway 38 intersected Highway 30 at that point in time, and there was a discussion among city council whether or not that would need to be a stoplight in that area. There'd been some accidents, a few other things. Council and governments at that time, which I still think is the same one that was always included Cedar County over there in eastern Iowa, but it was very effective in what they've done, and to your credit at MIPA, you know, when you came down, we looked at all these intersections, we looked at a lot of different things going on and whether or not planning for a turn lane on Highway 65, 69 from Burger King down to Highway 92 is feasible. I appreciate all the time that you guys and your staff put together on that as well. So I think the money and what I saw out of the COG in Eastern Iowa was that they were much more effective in getting funding for different programs through federal and state governments. They were also able to get the best quotes on things that we needed to buy for those kinds of projects. And so we were would that be part of the state not surplus, but the state bidding process then too? Is that what we do, or would that be
If
something?
we become a COG, yes, because we would be treated as a 2080 organization, which would treat us as a governmental or a unit of local government.
So then we would be able to access the state bid on a number of different things, correct?
Yes.
So Andrew, I think I recall from attending one of the meetings midsummer-ish, when this was the topic, and the shorthand, at least to me, was it gives us access, right, to more opportunities for financial
Absolutely.
support.
Council, have any other questions? So Andrew, we need to wait until the board decides and then we'll have something come to us. Is that what's going to process?
So, no, because you'll be voting as part of that board,
Yes,
both
okay.
at the executive and policy level.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Andrew? Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. Appreciate that.
No, thank you.
Thank you. I do have a couple of members of the Mayor's Youth Council here. Would you ladies mind standing up and giving your names, please?
I'm Camden Miramo. I'm Lucy Howe.
Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it. All right, we will move forward then. So on, what's that?
Do you only have, is he now in the youth council?
No, he's
Just hanging out?
belongs, he has, his ride is still here, so.
Good luck.
Yeah. He's stuck. Okay, so we have council committee reports.
I have a couple.
Okay.
First one is on SERPTA. They've released a draft of the long-range transportation plan. You might recall the survey that was out, and if you chose to take part in it, you answered questions on that, and then there was a public open house that you could attend. The draft is now out there and open for public comments. You can make public comments on that through December 7th. You can access the link on any of the city social pages or the website, or of course through the SERPTA website as well. And then I just wanted to give an update on Wine Witches and Brews and what that brought in. They sold about 1,000 tickets again, bringing in out-of-town guests from Louisiana, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Florida to the Indianola Main Street for that event on Friday night. They also had participants from as far away as Cedar Falls, Cedar Rapids, Centerville, Sheraton, Glenwood, Marshalltown, Newton, Ottumwa, Decatur, Afton, Orient, and several other cities. So kudos to them for getting that marketing out there and bringing those people in. It was a great event, well attended, and lots of fun was had.
Thank you. Other council reports?
Okay, I'm gonna go first. We had our Economic Development Subcommittee meeting Thursday last week. So we started with Deer Run and some of the potential development that would go on there. It's still pretty high level. There's no details, but the walkaway was for them to do some of the development around there and to keep the golf course in place. Some of the biggest issues they're having with, would be a surprise to nobody here, is with the DOT and trying to get some access points to do what they're trying to do. and Josh, Mayor, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, some of what the DOT wants to is like a traffic management plan to kind of help with that. So might be some stuff coming our way there, but that was kind of the high level talks on that. And then the second topic was regarding the CDBG grant for the downtown facade and some of the overage that came in for all of that. There's a few different options for us to figure out how to, fill some of that gap. And that'll be something that will come back to council for some future considerations on what we might want to do. If we don't have a way to fill that gap, we would lose what we've put in so far. So we put in about 162,000 so far with a commitment of 350,000, and we're looking at about a $12,000 gap that we're gonna have to fill. So more to come for when we get there. That's the high level.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was a good meeting. I'd commend Bryce and staff for all their efforts to bring that together. It was a good, I think, start for being more proactive with, developers, and then just different things that come up on that front. Regarding Deer Run, it is, to Steve's point, very high level and early still, but I think the developer, the ownership group has been refined a little bit, and they're a little more focused on a good path. Sounds like the development agreement's in probably the more appropriate spot going forward, and actually has a chance of being pretty successful and being a benefit to the west side of town and the citizens there. So that's exciting. And yeah, the CDBG grant, it's an issue. We'll have to see, encourage staff and some of the participants to try to be a little creative on a few things and see if there's some paths going forward here. But all good discussion. And again, kudos to staff for bringing together a group and being very proactive. So.
Thank you. Any other council? I'm sorry.
Sorry, question, just for clarification, this $12,000 gap is something that we need to fill? Or someone needs to fill to make these things, all of the project still succeed?
I think if
Potentially, there's three different options that we left with, right? Option one is we paid for it out of reserves. I think that I personally wasn't a fan of that option for a lot of different reasons that we can probably unpack at a later meeting. We have asked option two staff and the architecture firm to work and see if there's any possible further value engineering to close that gap. And then the third thing that's been discussed is, are there other fundraising opportunities through grants or Main Street or just different things? So obviously it's you just have to be very cautious how you approach this. One, from our budget perspective, and then two, just from the viewpoint and the precedents that you set going forward. So still super early. There'll be a lot more detail, but I know I think staff felt pretty confident that they have some more avenues to work on to try to bring us back something pretty positive.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other council committee reports? Okay, we'll move on then. Consideration of the appointment of Jess Lundquist to the Indianola Public Arts Commission for a term beginning immediately and ending July 1, 2026. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk call the roll, please.
Councilmember Beach?
Aye.
Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item D is consideration of the appointment of Sue Edwards to the Board of Adjustment for a term beginning immediately and ending July 1, 2030. So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, then clerk call the roll.
One that was. Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you to both of you for stepping up and serving. Appreciate anyone who steps up and serves on our board.
Okay, so community update. A couple of things going on. The girls played today at state volleyball. Congratulations to them for making state. Unfortunately, I don't believe they won their match, but we do appreciate all the work they put in this year and getting to the state tournament. I think they had to beat a higher ranked team to get there, and so they did some great things. So a couple of other things. Blank Park Zoo. I know that people say, well, what does that have to do with Indianola? But there are a lot of folks here in Indianola that do go to the zoo. They're having a groundbreaking on Thursday at 10 a.m. On some new activities and new buildings at the zoo as well. We also have, let's see where I'm on this here. I will be attending the National League of Cities conference on the 19th to the 21st in Salt Lake City as part of my duties with the League of Cities, not costing the city of Indianola anything. So that's one item. We have a Indianola housing opportunity discussion coming up here with just a high-level discussion. That will be some folks here in the community. And I think we need to mention that on the 11th, offices here will be closed for Veterans Day, if I'm correct. Okay, thank you. And that's the update. Next thing is the Operation Green Light for Veterans, a 2025 proclamation. And so this is the proclamation. Whereas the residents of Indianola have great respect, admiration, and utmost gratitude for all the men and women who've selflessly served our country and this community in the armed forces, and whereas the contributions and sacrifices of those who have served in armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens, and whereas Operation Greenlight is a nationwide initiative to support veterans and raise awareness about the challenges many veterans face in accessing benefits and services, and whereas Indianola seeks to honor individuals who've made countless sacrifices for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for good of all, and whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, veterans of foreign wars, religious groups, civil service, functioning as county veteran service officers in 29 states to help former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually, an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition to civilian life in the near future. Whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life, and whereas the city of Indianola seeks to join other communities and counties through Operation Green Light for Veterans to shine a light on the plight of veterans across the country who are having a hard time connecting with benefits after serving their country. Now, therefore, I, Steve Richardson, Mayor of the City of Indianola, do hereby proclaim the week of November 4th through the 11th, starting tomorrow, to be a time to honor the service and sacrifice of individuals in uniform transitioning from active service. Furthermore, in observance of Operation Green Light for Veterans, the Indianola City Council encourages community members to show their support of veterans by displaying a green light in a window of their place of business or residence from November 4th to 11th, 2025. Thank you. Okay. Old business, second consideration of an ordinance in Chapter 66, load and weight restrictions for establishing truck routes. Motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from council? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Armstrong?
No.
Beach?
No.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Rabe?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-2. Code compliance case 25-198, hearing regarding the determination of a nuisance at parcel 4825-101-2000. Staff will set us up here.
So on September 2nd,
There's a clicker.
Yeah, if you need that.
sorry, I'm a rookie.
You're on.
So on September 2nd of this year, city staff identified a potential public nuisance located on the north intersection of North 7th Court and Lincoln Ave. Upon inspection of the property, the city's code enforcement officer determined. Sorry. Well, I had the clicker. So he determined there was a violation. It's tall grass and weeds throughout a big parcel. This has been a nuisance for quite a while and a couple times throughout the year. And We've notified the property owner of the violations requiring they mow the overgrown areas within 10 feet of the property line to satisfy code, and they've refused to do so. So we've brought this to you for consideration, or actually the property owner has, which I don't think that he is. Do we have anybody here to speak on behalf of Hanson? I would say no. Which button do I push? Next. There we go. So this is the areas that we've taken pictures of, obviously, that's the dead end of, I believe that's up behind Walmart there.
North 7th Court, I think.
North 7th Court. I don't think that is 7th Court. That's 7th Court there. But we're just asking him to mow 10 foot back, which it's nothing that we haven't asked other property owners for the same type of parcel to do. It's never been an issue. We still don't think it's an issue, and he needs to comply. This is the area that's all we're asking, the 10 foot to be mowed back. It's just, it abuts residential property, so it's something that needs to be done. And then the second code case.
We aren't there yet. You gotta give us a second here, so.
Okay. You got him a rookie.
A question on that one. Are you also asking him to clean up the garbage that has been dumped in that property?
The garbage has been dumped. I mean, anything and everything is stated in the violation, the notice of violation, yes, with the garbage, trash, and refuse. Yes.
Go back.
Oh,
Right there. That's what she's talking about.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
that-
Yeah, I mean, that through there, they'd have to clean that up as well.
Mike, there's some concern about erosion on that dead end right there, and have you had a chance, has anybody had a chance to kind of walk or look at that? I mean, obviously you got the pictures here, but can you talk about some of the terrain issues or not?
But there's, talk about erosion right here.
Right.
I mean, nobody's talked to us about the erosion. I guess I don't see the erosion here, but,
Are you saying it'd be difficult to mow because of the erosion? Is that what
are you talking like the terrain?
I think there's going to be a little difficulty there. That's downhill, and the water over the last 10, 12 years or so has done some erosion there.
Sure, I mean, I still don't think it's an issue with somebody walking.
That's fine. I just wondered if anybody had looked at that or had an opportunity to do that, so.
I've walked back in there and it's uneven, but
Okay.
I mean, even if you couldn't get it with a mower, you could still get it with weed eater.
Yeah. No, I'm not arguing that. I'm just asking if the staff have done anything.
We didn't walk back into that for fear of, poison ivy and whatnot, so.
Okay.
I didn't go very far. I was helping a neighbor with a lost dog.
Okay.
It's not very fun back in there.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. That's why we're asking them to mow it. Any other questions or discussion?
Are you wanting to mow it on all four sides or just?
So just these areas right here in the red. Yep, just those two sides there. Just the areas essentially where it abuts the residential properties.
Any questions?
So now, the other questions here, the resolution would then, consequence here is that we go ahead and take care of that. Is that what happens here?
Yeah, I mean, this through here, I think we're seeking an infraction on it.
Okay.
Municipal infraction.
If he doesn't mow, what happens?
That's municipal infraction. So we're essentially, we're going to go after the infraction, and he still has to comply, yep. So it's essentially a fine for not complying within that time that we've allowed.
And if he doesn't pay the fine?
It gets put on the taxes.
Okay.
Just takes a little longer to recoup us all.
Tim, what has the communication with him been? Has he responded?
So, I mean, we are just required to send him mail, certified and regular mail, and he's received it, which is why he's asked for this meeting. But, I
He's
mean,
responded to you or no?
yeah, I mean, he said that he had some type of an agreement with the city, that he didn't have to mow this, but he was unable to produce that agreement. So I doubt that it exists, but.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions?
We need a motion to determine that a nuisance exists. Is that correct?
We have to open it for a hearing, don't we?
This is the
This is your hearing.
I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
Went to-
We just
We
have
just
to,
need to make a motion on, yes, a
A nuisance
Sorry.
exists.
nuisance exists, or no, a nuisance does not exist.
I'd make a motion that,
Motion that a nuisance exists.
I'll second it.
have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Lane?
Aye.
Wade? Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Stones?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. This is a little bit different. We don't usually get into these, so that's something that's a little different for everybody, so. Okay,
It's just a resolution. You
just a
either find it
resolution,
is,
that's
or you
it,
find
yep,
it isn't.
yep.
Then everything else.
yep.
Got it.
So our next code case was on September 12th, 2025. City staff received a
Just
notice.
a second, Mike, or I'm sorry, Jim, hold on. Code compliance case 2025-225 for 1012 East Euclid Avenue. We're now in a public hearing and dealing with the code compliance case. Staff will then present the information, and then if the owner is here, they'll have an opportunity to discuss. Go ahead, Mike. The mic.
I'm much better looking than Mike. On September 12th, 2025, city staff received notice of a potential public nuisance at 1012 East Euclid Avenue. Upon inspection of the property, our code enforcement officer determined the violation exists, citing the following code sections, which is garbage, trash, refuse, junk debris, junk and junk vehicles. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they've compiled. Some of it is, you could say, organized, some of it is not. We're just asking them to put it in the garage is really it. But we notified the property owner of violations requiring that they clean it up to satisfy code, and they haven't complied yet.
I'm here.
Oh,
And my husband was supposed to send over photos, but he's not the best with technology. So I don't know if you guys want me to hand these over to you or someone, but those pictures are not up to date at all. The wood that is on that back deck, that was a project of my husband's with some pallets and stuff, that's gone. That's no longer there. The large yellow thing you see up against our garage right there is a large slide. My husband was going to build our kids a big jungle gym playset, whatever you want to call it. A couple developments in my health made that not possible this year. So we do have it still there for next year. And the stuff you see sitting next to it is all stuff for our garden. So there's a lot of black crates. Yes, there's a ton, because when you store potatoes, you have to store them in one flat, and you have to stack it and allow air room and a bunch of other crap. So we do have a lot of those. And as for the front picture, that has been since cleaned up as well. That did get a little messy on my fault. We had our 3 kids plus 2 nieces at our house the entirety of the summer. So lots of toys, because they don't like to share because they're all under the age of 7. But the main thing being, we've had this issue earlier in the year as well, and we got the letter from the city. We went and we talked, or actually, I think I just called and spoke to Tim then, or not Tim, Mike, sorry. Now you guys had me doing it. And called, talked to him then. We worked it out. We figured out what the problem was, got it fixed. It's the fact that it's kids' toys in the front yard that they keep calling about, and I know who it is, and that's the problem, because they're just trying to use the city resources to make my life difficult, because they don't like that I have kids. They don't like that my kids are loud outside. And I can't help that. My kids are going to be loud. We live across the street from an elementary school. There is nothing in the city ordinances, and I have poured over them saying that kids' toys are a nuisance. And so I am at a loss of what to do, and that's why Mike said that I should come in today, just kind of point at, like, if I can get you guys to tell me that toys are not an issue, then hopefully I don't have to deal with this again. Because I can get, like, the pallets and stuff, but those are gone. The toys are probably gonna stay there for another year or so until they outgrow them. Probably get replaced by some bigger toys because they like to ride fast, but I don't have room in my garage for kids' toys. I don't even have room for my car because we have a lot of stuff going on. So I guess, I don't know, should I pass these pictures over so you guys can see that they've been fixed, or
Probably be a good idea if you could.
there's two sets there?
I get your name.
And I don't know if it makes a difference with the backyard specifically, but within the next week, there will be a 6-foot privacy fence there. Because with this neighbor causing so many problems and that, we just decided to bite the bullet, even though we can't afford it, and we're gonna get it put up so that we don't have to deal with this in the future.
Sides of the backyard or just the?
It will be all sides.
Time to cancel, look at your pictures. Thank you for providing those, by the way.
Of course, sorry my husband didn't get them emailed over. He said he did, and yeah, I should just take that over.
Tim, Mike, have you guys seen any updated pictures yet? Well, should we pass them to you?
I haven't seen them either.
I didn't send them to you either. I tried to take the photos from the same angles that those were taken from, but I didn't want to leave in my yard either. And I know the garden is not magazine worthy. I won't apologize for it. I'm just trying to feed my kids.
I was gonna say it's a vegetable garden, right?
It's mostly this year was tomatoes and pumpkins and that, but I mean, next year we're hoping to make it a little bit bigger and more incorporated. It was our first year actually being able to have a garden, so we kind of were playing it by ear a bit.
When did you say the fence is gonna be built?
End of the week. Should be, if not the end of next week, just depending on the weather and that. But we do have a contract in place. I can actually pull that up. I've made the down payment on it and everything. So. And it'll be a 6-foot privacy fence, and it will go at the end of the garage where you see that walkway. There'll be gate there, and then it'll be all the way around.
Any other discussion? And then if there is none, somebody can make a motion.
What does the ordinance actually state?
For legal to weigh in, my understanding is we've received at least one photograph as Wednesday, and I don't believe it's addressed in your photographs for the side of the garage that does have the slide and numerous other items that are piled up along the garage. Viewing that photo, legal would take the position that that is still a nuisance under 50.02 and 51.02. We do agree that some of the items have been abated, but not the entirety would be legal's position at this time.
But which items specifically are you speaking of? Because it's hard to.
Is there a picture? Do you have a picture behind the garage?
On my phone.
Maybe that'll shed some more light on, because we're seeing it, the ones that were submitted to our complaint system are shown right there. We've received some other unofficial, I guess, from other people submitting them to us, but we don't use those photos. We use photos that we acquire from public right of way. That kind of show a similar story to what's being presented today.
It's really hard to tell from this photo. But right here, those are the crates I was speaking of. So they are 6-inch black crates. They are plastic black crates. You put vegetables in them, use them to dry out the vegetables. We use them to store them in our basement. The kids' table has since moved. A couple of those toys have moved. Back behind these crates, you will find 2 full-size round water barrels. They are not used for catching rainwater. They are used for what's called hydrocomposting. It's a way to make more effective fertilizer for the garden itself. And then there are 4, let's call them cut in half barrels. Those barrels are used for composting as well, because you cannot put live weeds into a compost pile. If you put live weeds into a compost pile, they will propagate and you will have a mountain of weeds by the end of the next week. So you have to dry them out first. And the neighbors were not happy when we dried them out in our yard, so we came up with this solution. We put the weeds in the compost barrel, it stays in the garden, and we wait until they are dry and fully dead before we put them in the compost barrel. It's not pretty.
I mean,
it's functional.
I think the issue we're still seeing is that it appears to be scrap metal, perhaps scrap wood, multiple items that are just leaned up against the garage. So.
Again, these are photos that were sent to us after packets were distributed. We only accept photos, ones that our code enforcement officers
That's all been.
take,
It's all
so
been there.
I don't know if we can officially use this, but
I think what she's saying is since that photo, those items have been removed.
You can see that there's still that wood there, but the scrap metal and everything is all gone. And it's just, and the kids' toys will get messy again, I promise. I cannot stop them from doing that, so.
Legal's given their opinion, so it's up to you guys.
To explain the process a little
Yeah.
bit. So if they declared a nuisance or not, if the applicant still has an opportunity to rectify it before there would be any type of official violation.
When first a notice of infraction is sent out, there's a set time frame for abatement. There's also the option to appeal that notice of infraction to the city council. That's where we're at here today. The council then issues a resolution. Either they believe that there is a violation or they don't, right? But that doesn't end the process. Then I take over from that process, and ultimately we generally file a municipal infraction. And then they have a time to initially appear, and then usually they then set us for pretrial hearing, and they set us for trial, right? So, and then we ask the court to determine whether or not there was an infraction. And so this is the initial part. Generally, an infraction can occur at a snapshot in time, right? We can say that there is a continuing violation, but each day that a violation continues is a new infraction, right? And so it's a new fine amount. So what you look at is if you had until X date to abate and you didn't abate, and we took pictures after that date, and it was still there, technically, legal would take the position, council does not have to take that position, but legal would take the position that that becomes an infraction as of that date when they didn't abate by the time they were required to. So it's not the end of everything. You guys decided, and we still have a process that occurs after the fact. And quite frankly, a lot of your municipal infractions, we do work with the property owners even after we've filed to get abatements done, and oftentimes stipulations on what has or has not occurred. So this is just this next step. Oftentimes you don't see this part because they don't ask for a hearing in front of the council. Usually what happens is we go from the notice of infraction straight to the municipal infraction.
So the question becomes then as well, you're assuming that, is this an assumption based on, or the process based on an affirmative finding by the council that there isn't a nuisance?
If council finds there isn't a nuisance, we would not proceed forward with a municipal infraction.
That was my question, thank you.
If council finds that there is a nuisance, is there guaranteed to be an infraction?
No.
Or would the candidate or the applicant still have a chance to abate in a way that is mutually agreeable to both parties?
I mean, yes. Yeah, I guess if council directed otherwise, usually that's within the discretion of the city attorney and staff of whether or not we feel like they've abated before we filed. Because usually filing is when we ask for the fine, right? So at the end of the day, our main goal in filing any municipal infraction is to get it abated. And sometimes the only way you can enforce that is via fine. But generally, and city staff's goal has always been that it is to get it abated. So oftentimes, even once we've filed, we dismiss once it's been abated. So certainly, if things are taken care of before then, before the time we file, I'm guessing city staff would direct me not to file, unless I have an opposite direction from council. But this is just an additional step that every citizen has the right to when they're given a notice of infraction.
So, in your opinion, Allison, the items that need to be abated before, to clear up the case entirely, are the items next to the garage? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
What items though?
We have the
Because
pictures of
when
it.
I'm looking at this, I'm seeing somebody who's building a slide for their kids and a playground. I'm looking at something that is for gardening. And yes, there is some debris and junk, but she has stated that that has all been cleared up, the sheet metal, those type of things. I'm not gonna
Apologize
sit
it
here
took
and
so long.
dictate that somebody
My
can't
husband just had the
garden.
week off.
You know, that's ridiculous.
I guess I'm not dictating anything. What I'm telling you is what your ordinance says. And so your ordinance would, the way these pictures come across would likely be determined to fall as a violation under 50.02 and 51.02. So I'm not dictating what anyone can or cannot do. I enforce your ordinances.
So, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna mention, you know, we can only enforce as Allison said, it's a picture in time.
Right.
Unfortunately, we just didn't get the updated photos before the hearing. But I think, you know, the conservative action here tonight would probably, you know, if the council were to determine that a nuisance exists, we could follow the appropriate procedures. And then if everything is cleaned up, we could negate those procedures and stop that from going any further. I think that's kind of the direction that we've kind of handled things in the past.
We're just wanting city council to determine, yay, is this stuff a nuisance or is it not?
And unfortunately, the photos that were presented to us tonight, I don't know, you know, it seems like a lot of the things were picked up. And we can obviously make that determination tomorrow. But just, you know, if things weren't picked up, we would be in the position to make the process go along as usual, based on what Allison was just mentioning.
And the concern being going forward, because this happened earlier this year, like I said, and we got it cleaned up and everything was fine. But then the kids' toys got messy again because they're kids. And because I had 5 kids in my house over the summer, which is why you see the upside down black pool, we had a water balloon fight. So if it's ruled a nuisance this time and cleaned up, and then next summer when my kids get the toys messy, is it another nuisance again? It's just toys. Kids' toys are a fact of life, especially living across the street from an elementary school. If you don't want to look at kids' toys, I'm sorry, move to the country.
Council and Allison, you can chime in. I don't think the toys are in dispute. I think that there's nothing in our ordinance that outlaws toys being stored outside. I think it's just some of the other materials, and that's why I go back to what Bryce was just saying. I think the conservative approach is to continue to declare it a nuisance, but staff and the applicant here can continue to work together to resolve some of those select issues that would be a violation of the ordinance within reason, but again, allowing some of those other items that don't violate the code to continue to exist.
So I guess my question, before I'm gonna tie my vote to anything that says something's a nuisance, can one of you like point out in the pictures specifically what is the actual nuisance in the photo?
Well, I think, for instance, go back one more slide, Bryce. There's a 55-gallon drum barrel
That's been moved.
in the left-hand picture. Like what is that used for?
I think it's a plotter.
There was a boxing bag holder that's been sitting out there for years. It's rusty. There's a weightlifting frame there. You see, we're not lifting weights outside. That's getting rust. Those things would be a nuisance.
Okay, so but we're not actually speaking about the children's
we're not talking
toys,
about the little tykes.
the slide, for gardening items.
So you'll see in the photos that the barrel's been moved. That's part of the water composting. And then the squat rack was moved around to the side, so it's less visible. It is still visible from the street. You'll see it in the photos. But my husband does use it. He doesn't use it for squatting weights. He uses it for spine decompression because he has a bad back and he works for UPS. has to decompress his spine at the end of the day. He also uses it for working out, pull-ups, and that he has our kids work out on it too. It's gonna rust, it's outside. We cannot put it inside, our ceilings are only 8 feet tall.
You said you're putting up a privacy fence as well.
Literally the end of this week, if not next. I'm just waiting for them to actually do it because they had more people ahead of us. So you won't be able to see anything except for the little tyke stuff from the street.
My concern with saying that this is a nuisance overall is the photos that are being used are indicating that it's implying it's the toys and those type of things, I guess. And I don't want this to be used as some future reference that, you know, my neighbor has 5 kids and they've got 5 bikes in the driveway and they've got, you know, 5 little Tykes cars in the driveway. Oh, I'm calling in a nuisance call because they've got kids' toys in the driveway. That's my concern, so.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree that we don't want that. I think the challenge, if I'm understanding from staff's perspective, would be that we can take pictures from the right of way, and there's so much stuff piled around the nuisance items, it's impossible to get a picture otherwise. Sounds like a fence is coming, which would mitigate some of this. Staff has said that this isn't a drop the hammer, this is a process that we have to follow. They can continue to work with folks, and I think if in the future there was a fence up and more of that stuff was kept screened by the fence, it would probably work better for everybody. I hear what you're saying, but I don't know how they would take pictures otherwise, unfortunately, short of encouraging our staff to go on private.
No, I get it. I just, like, with the breakdown of the report, maybe in the future, if we have more of an itemized type breakdown that kind of defines.
I think the difference would be the amount of time it's been out there. Same spot. Because if it's, like, say, bicycles, for example, I mean, kids will get back on and they'll move them to a different spot. By the time we go out there, they're gone. You know, I mean, this has been there for a while. I think that's the only difference. Once the fence is there, I mean, if we can't see it from the right of way, obviously.
I think Josh makes a good point. One, which you all said, makes a lot of sense. This is a point in time. You know, this picture was taken and 3 minutes later, it could look different. It's not. This is what the decision is based on the right-of-way pictures. Christine, I understand what you're saying about that, but it's just the access for the pictures. And I think what I hear you saying is this is a rare moment where this process actually comes before the council. It's usually resolved before it gets here, or this step's skipped.
Correct.
You go to the next step already, it's resolved, and there's no further action, so to speak, correct?
I mean, oftentimes we resolve either before we file a municipal infraction, or a ton we see we file a municipal infraction, they abate, and then, you know, we resolve based on that. The court process is not quick, so there's a lot of time. And several of these, right, too, we'll even ask to continue out things further to give them more time to abate. At the end of the day, I will say, I do a lot of these, and by far, the city of Indianola works very hard to make abatement be the #1 goal. And so they kind of bend over backwards to do that. So I would say that this is just one step in a lengthy step of the full goal being abatement. So.
But if you bring to attention the scrap metal and the scrap wood that is taken care of, then what's the next step?
Right,
Because
we
I
haven't
don't have
confirmed that yet. I
don't care to keep doing this.
Right, I mean, but my concern would be, for legal, is that I don't have staff out there confirming that for me yet. So even when someone calls me up and says, I've abated, I always send staff out to make sure before we ever. I mean, I have lots of people send me lots of photos, and
I mean, I guess, what's the point of the hearing then? I mean, we're here having a hearing. I guess I look at it like when you go to court, you present your case. Well, she's presenting her case. She's showing us photos recent that show a drastic change from what we see in these photos. So but yet we're still being asked to vote that it's a nuisance based on the old photos, even though we've now seen new photos showing that it's no longer like that.
I think if you decide for yourself that you don't feel that it is a continued nuisance, I'm telling you legal's position, then you ultimately, that's your vote, right? Like you vote based on what you think. I have looked at the photos and I would take the position as legal that there was a nuisance, that continues to be a nuisance. And so that's just legal's current position. I don't tell you how to vote. And you're right, this is a hearing, but it's one hearing in the process of many, so.
My understanding that this has been a lengthy process to get to this point, right? So we've had months to abate this up to this point, and even the notice for a hearing tonight has been known for a while. And there was the opportunity to work with staff prior to the meeting to get staff back out there to verify. And just, yeah, it seems harsh. It's not meant to be harsh, but there's a process in place and the steps just haven't been followed by you folks. But now we have an opportunity, like you're saying you've done it, but we're still presented with the legal portion of the process. This could all get resolved potentially tomorrow. But the process hasn't been followed and abated in that time. So now if we don't continue to follow legal's counsel in this, it just delays everything further. So I think we either have to vote to trust the process, and again, we've heard repeatedly that staff wants to work for abatement, or trust and further delay and have no help to keep the process moving forward, which it hasn't moved forward over months.
But the reason it did take so long, as I was explaining, was because my husband only had his last vacation week this last week. And we didn't even get to use the whole vacation week for this process because I was in the hospital with another complication. So we can only work as fast as we can work as human beings.
I hear you, and I have sympathy for all that, and I hope your house steps into a good spot. Home ownership, like, it's complicated in a city, and we have responsibilities, and that's the tough thing. I think what I would encourage you to take from this is that staff wants to work with you guys to resolve this after this meeting. Because of the time, this is where we're at. My perspective and where I'm at right now.
Mayor and Council, I just might add that it sounds like there was an incident earlier this year that staff and the homeowner were able to work through and resolve the issue. So I think there's a history of that, and as legal counsel has said that our perspective is to address the issue. We certainly don't enjoy giving out infractions or simply our tool to encourage compliance at the end of the day. And another point I think is worth reiterating is that the pictures that were shown are great, and I think if we can go verify those, there's a good chance that they may very well satisfy the situation. But as has been stated, we haven't seen them and we haven't been able to go back and verify those. They haven't been presented until just this evening. So again, it just goes back to following the process and allowing us to go out tomorrow, and most of this will likely be resolved.
Yeah, and to me, that makes sense. And this isn't a questioning of you or a judgment upon you, your integrity, your honesty, or anything. It's about the process that we have to follow to let the staff do their job and due diligence, following up, if you will, to verify it. That's what I'm hearing. Let them go verify it and work with her and get it resolved, and it's done.
Okay, so here's my, I guess, last question then. So should we say that those photos right there, nuisance? Okay, so if we say that it's a nuisance, are they then given fines because we have voted that? So as long as tomorrow you guys go out, can verify that it has been cleaned up to satisfactory, no fines, no nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we can't, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but we've always taken the position we can't fine until we get a judgment fining them. There are certain things that we can do without a judgment, right? Like you have a mowing ordinance that allows us to enter onto like after we've sent a notice and they don't mow, we can enter onto the property, mow, and assess that cost, right? This is different, right? We have to have a court order assessing a fine and allowing us entry. So it's different how it's written as opposed to like hey, you didn't mow your yard, we're gonna mow your yard and assess the fine. There's a very specific provision for that, right? So there is no fine assessed until we go to court.
Basically, we're just asking you guys to determine whether this is a nuisance or not. If it is, if you determine that it is, she has a chance to still abate it. We go there tomorrow. If there's no more nuisance, it goes away. You guys say that there's not a nuisance, it goes away.
And this would not create future issues, like if her neighbors see these
because then
toys outside?
Have your determination at that point.
Okay.
But if they determine that it is a nuisance and then the neighbors get upset about the toys being out again, then it starts the whole process over again.
Correct.
Which is annoying.
It would. Any future violation would start a new notice period and all of that again, right? With limited exceptions, i.e. if I've gone through the entire trial process and I get an order prohibiting future violations and then they become contempt of court. But that's not the situation here. So, I mean, a future violation would start the process again.
And it would also determine if we could see it from the right of way. We don't allow property owners just to go over your fence, start taking pictures and say it's still there.
That was gonna be my next question is, what if they are?
We can't see it from the right of way.
doing
It's like a
something like
garage,
that.
similar to a garage or another structure.
What if their deck is elevated?
That we don't allow anything for private property.
Nor will we go on private property to take pictures as well.
Because then it would be a private nuisance.
And it would be a civil action for
So
the property.
their deck can see into our yard even with the 6-foot privacy fence, so that's not gonna be a problem.
We can't use those photos.
Also, I just want to clarify, the issue wasn't the toys specifically, it was all the other things that were mixed in with the toys.
And the longevity of them existing there.
Right, so because you have children's toys sitting out is not a nuisance, it's the longevity and them not moving and the other things that were mixed in, like the rain barrel, the
Crates.
sheet
I
metal.
get the other stuff being mixed in, but
We
I'm
appreciate you.
always gonna have an issue with the toys, cause I got a granddaughter who comes over every few weeks.
Well, I just wanted to
And
clarify.
it's pick and choose whether she is moving a toy or not. So the longevity of something sitting, that's a toy, I have an issue with, but the rest of it I can understand.
Let's just
Sitting
make-
too
Which is why we've
long.
moved our stuff.
Let's just make sure that we don't overtalk each other here, so let's let people finish their thoughts, and then if you have other thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that kids' toys sitting out is not a nuisance, it's the other things mixed in that created the nuisance.
As far as the toys, you could theoretically, I'm gonna guess you have an entrance off your driveway that will be into the fenced area. You theoretically could keep the toys there as well, but again, toys aren't the issue, so. So what is the council's pleasure then?
I'd make a motion to determine a nuisance at 1012 Euclid Avenue.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I always find it tough for us to determine how someone can live. I struggle with that. But I also know we live in a community and it's nice to be neighborly and I mean, the city's willing to work with the homeowner and that the homeowner's willing to work with the city. We can resolve this tomorrow. It shouldn't be that big a deal.
Well, that led to one other question I was going to ask Allison. Should there still be some issues a little bit tomorrow, how long before you move forward with the next phase? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, so generally if there's just minor issues, Tim and I usually discuss like, okay, maybe another couple weeks or something like that. And then we wait. And I'll be honest, I have a very heavy workload. So the likelihood of me getting a municipal infraction drafted in a couple of weeks is, it takes a while to get all of that done. But like the last couple where we think that they're close, we push out a couple weeks, we check back in. At the end of the day, the last thing we want to do is, to be honest, is spend more money. Because I cost money and there's court costs and
Sure.
all the things. So it behooves everyone to just resolve if we can.
Well, the point I was trying to make there is that hopefully it takes place tomorrow or the next day or within a very short period of time. But that it's not going to be imminent. It's going to be a little bit further out, so the staff still has time to work with the owner and the owner has time to work with the staff. That's what I heard you say, so.
Can staff maybe get with her before she leaves tonight to maybe go over the photos that she has and maybe give her a clearer, if there's still something that's in those photos?
I think that's why we're here, for you guys to determine if this is a nuisance or not. And like Tim had said earlier, if it's not, this all goes away. If it is, we need to determine what is a nuisance. Not the toys, not the slide, but maybe the barrels, maybe the punching bag that doesn't get used. Like you alluded to earlier, some specific items.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah, I think to Councilmember Beach's point, though, a site visit is probably the best next course of action. So the pictures are certainly helpful, but they'll work, crew or staff will work with getting a site visit scheduled. And that's what we'll be able to verify what is or is not currently still there.
Yeah, we'll work with her schedule, hopefully get out there sometime this week. I mean,
I can come home from work anytime.
our staff will work through that, the scheduling of the site visit and make the determination.
From legal, arguably, your motion could be, you can move to amend the motion that accepting the toys, it's a nuisance. You could put into your motion that specifically the toys are not a nuisance, if that is the way the council is leaning.
I would say that we do have a definition of junk, and toys don't fall under junk, but.
What about the gardening stuff? Is that falling underneath the definition of junk? Because, it looks like she's got a composting system set up, and just because the neighbor may not understand what composting is.
Right, and initially it was strewn about the yard. Okay. Strewn all over. Would you agree?
Well,
But
the
if we
last time it was
keep
the
it
three of
neat
them
and
in the garden.
orderly, that would be a lot better rather than stockpiled high and strewn about, right?
Yeah,
It's fair that if the fence goes up, none of the gardening stuff is an issue at all.
right.
We're literally talking about following code, which is pretty clear on what's junk and what's not junk.
It's not though, there's not a definition in the code.
There is a definition of junk, 5104.
That's not what we were told.
51.01. Maybe not garbage or gardening specifically, but there are be neatly stacked and things like that.
So again, we're simply asking to follow the code. Toys are clearly not a part of the code. There's a fence going up that's gonna mitigate a lot of this, but the goal is to keep things more orderly. That's just one of the burdens of homeownership in a town, right? And allowing staff to work with the applicant, I'm not sure, the homeowner, I'm trying to use the right. Staff has stated they're gonna continue, they've already been working through this for months, they're gonna continue to work with it. So now we just move the process, follow code. To me, it's very clear that toys aren't a part of it, but. Building a fence will be a wonderful thing. And to be clear, anybody that sees your backyard from their own property doesn't count. All that counts is what staff can take pictures of from the right-of-way, public areas. So if neighbors want to be weird and take pictures of your
That side
backyard.
photo there is taken from my neighbor's private yard.
Once your fence goes up.
But that's not public right of way.
I actually took that from the sidewalk, and if you zoom in, you can get a pretty good picture.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, unless there's any other changes to that. We have somewhat of an idea. You got it here? No further discussion.
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Nay.
Stones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Babe?
Motion carries 5-1, and staff will be out shortly to see what we can move forward with.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate your time, ma'am.
Good, thank you.
Time you can.
Okay. Get my agenda back out here. Okay, we are into new business, resolution approving preliminary plat for Pickard Estates. Bill, that's you, I guess.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The applicant in this case is iTown Investment Group LLC, represented by Jason Lund with Snyder and Associates. Tonight, we are seeking approval of a preliminary plat for a single-family and townhome family residential project located south of Highway 92, South 15th Street. It contains just over 18 acres in area. It's a new development just to the west of the newly platted Pickard Commerce Park. The subject property was recently rezoned from A1 to R2, single-family residential attached zoning district to accommodate this development. Staff is currently reviewing the construction drawings for phase 1 of this project. It'll be in 2 phases. The preliminary plat identifies a total of 22 townhome lots and 35 single-family residential lots. 1 outlot will be used for stormwater detention. Townhome lots range in size from 2,952 square feet to 3,096 square feet. And the single-family lots range in size from 9,100 square feet up to just over 21,000 square feet in area. Outlot X, which is at the south end of the site, the stormwater detention area will be just over 2 acres in area. A couple of street lots will end up being deeded to the city as public rights-of-way. The street that the townhomes will be on will be privately owned and maintained, though the utilities within that private road will be public. Access into the development will be off of the newly constructed South 20th Street, which was approved with that MOU from the Iowa Department of Transportation. In 2024, the DOT updated its driveway separation requirements to 600 feet spacing between driveways on the same side of the road. Under these new standards, they've asked us to partake in an access management plan on the east side of town. So while the access is not yet approved, we've asked them to show the proposed access to South 18th Street, which is at the bottom of your screen. Once the access management plan is done and IDOT approves a permit, that access will then be installed as part of these improvements. A 5-foot sidewalks will be installed with each lot as they're developed. No trails are proposed as part of this project. Site will be serviced with all public utilities. They'll be extended as needed to service the plat. All easements have been shown and labeled on this plat, including PUEs, ingress-egress easements, storm sewer easements, sanitary sewer easements, water main easements, overland flowage easements, all the necessary easements. Parkland dedication will be required as part of this project. 2.19 acres will be required based on the number of units that are proposed. The developer will end up satisfying that with a fee in lieu of, which we permit in lieu of dedicating parkland. That fee will need to be paid prior to any final plats being approved by the city council. The subject property was classified or is classified as low to medium density residential in a comprehensive plan. When this was rezoned to R2, the developer requested a future land use map amendment from community mixed use to low to medium density residential to satisfy this development. At their planning commission meeting, I believe that was September 23rd, planning commission recommended unanimously to approve the preliminary plat subject to our remaining staff comments. The other thing to bring to your attention is the chapter 170.10 of our subdivision ordinance, which states that street jogs of less than 300 feet shall be avoided. The code does allow P&Z and council to provide a waiver to that, which planning commission also unanimously, I can't say that word tonight, recommended to you folks to provide that waiver. And essentially, these street jogs are intended to reduce left turn conflicts. They're looking at from this intersection to this intersection, and this one to here. So these are each about 150 feet where 300 feet is required. But when you're kind of piecemealing development, like Pickard Commerce Park was one development before this one was even started. Now this one is in, and there's no plans for anything to the west right now. So staff has been supportive of that waiver. So the preliminary plat is in general conformance with our zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance minus that street jog, which we're seeking the waiver for. And our comprehensive plan, staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat, subject to remaining staff comments, and happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Bill?
What's the distance between 20th and 18th, Bill?
It's at least 600 feet.
Oh, it is? Okay.
More than 600.
It'll meet the spacing requirements once the access management plan is completed.
Christina?
Oh, I was just gonna say it would have to be, I think, more than the 600, because you've got 150 feet between each of those streets, so.
Yeah, it's at least 600 feet.
Any other questions?
Bill, just on the street jogs, I understand going east, given the development's already there, you can't marry up streets very well. And I know there's nothing currently to the west, but what happens when the west develops?
Nice.
I mean, inevitably, it probably will, right? Will we have an issue with South 18th Street at that time?
Jason Ledden with Snyder Associates. While we can't determine what is going to happen to the west at this point, because we don't quite know what's going to go in there, the DOT access points of the 600-foot spacing is really determining that. And knowing that that is now the DOT's approach to Highway 92 through here, that can be planned on going to the west now that that development is happening, knowing where these intersections are happening. The other thing with these intersections, these are intended to be more low-volume streets with minimal left-right movements with the single-family development versus more highway-oriented commercial or industrial development. So that is the thought onto the shorter distances on this development.
Sure. They will also have stop controls, stop signs at those intersections too.
Yep. No, I just was like, we're allowing the loop here, and then are we just creating a situation where whenever the west develops, it's going to be the same type of thing where you have these shortened?
Well, I think to the west will end up being more residential, so it's easier to plan that way.
Sure.
Another aspect.
Lots are laid out. You can't take 18th straight down into it, right?
So another aspect of this development is there on the south side. It's not really shown here, but there is kind of that draw and drainage way there with the stormwater management basin will be that really prohibits a crossing in this area, where the farm field to the west, you would be able to have a street that could go further to the south and create that crossing. So to your point, you could have more of a straight linear connection on the next parcel versus this one that is really hampered by the geographic characteristics.
All right. Thank you.
And I think we're looking more of a long-range plan to get out to South 15th Street or down to Plainview or Kennedy, instead of just more accesses off of one, a single project that goes right up to 92. So it's more of a long-range planning effort too.
Makes sense.
So, really the only question I have is the naming of streets. We generally try to follow the system that we've had for a number of years here, so I'm not sure how Pickard Way runs into it's a minor issue, but again, it's an issue that doesn't fall within the naming of our streets. And I would assume then, maybe it's bad to assume anything here, but would that not be something like I don't know what, West 18th or West 15th or something Avenue? I mean, my point with this is that in the future, when we have these kinds of things come up, there's some developments that have been added in the last 5 or 10 years that have names that aren't consistent with what we normally have here in the city of Indianola. And for those folks that may be listening or don't understand, basically everything west of Highway 65, 69 are streets that run north and south, or streets after you get past the square alphabetically. East of Highway 65, 69 then are streets, so First Street, Second Street, Third Street, Fourth Street on down the way. You get south of the square is avenues, so it's First Avenue, Second Avenue, Third Avenue. You get north of the square, it becomes Ashland, Boston, Clinton, Detroit, Euclid, all with A, B, C, D, E names. We want to change that and continue to change that, that's fine. I guess from somebody that's been here a long time in Indianola, that those were easy for folks to remember, and I understand that. And so I just was asking the question here, that was Pickard Way just plucked out of the sky here, or is this something that doesn't match what we currently have, I guess, is where I'm at with that.
So when it comes to street naming, the code says that if there's a natural connection or natural potential connection, to use that same street name. Here, we've got Pickard Park, Pickard Commerce Park, Pickard Estates, a couple of vacant lots, and then the middle school. So there's no natural connection to Fourth going through the middle school. So this is something we had conversations with the fire department on. Basically, these naming conventions will kind of just be local to this area, and then moving forward, with other developments, we'll use the naming convention as we see fit. Pickard Way was just kind of plucked out of the sky based on its proximity to to Pickard Park. 19th, the circular street was originally 19th Court, but there's already a 19th Court to the north, on the north side of Highway 92. So we're going to stick with, I think, Circle for this one. And
again, it goes, but your point is exactly well taken, that the fire department was in the back of my mind the entire time too, about making sure that we have some consistency there as well. And if you've already run it by them, then.
Yes, my concern wouldn't really be with the street names, but with the numbering of the houses, because in my ward, I have a situation where on the corner of, I think it's Third, you've got 100 East Third and 100 West Third.
Yeah.
Right across from each other, and it has happened where EMTs were sent to the wrong location.
it's kind of tricky here too, because you can have one street, or you can have 3 streets. The southernmost street might have 5 lots on it that have a 2100 address, versus the 2 north of South streets might have 4 houses on each of them that are 200 blocks. To me, that's more confusing than having one street. But points taken. I understand things happen like that. It's the streets don't get. The streets aren't official until the final plat goes in and things like that. So this is all has the potential to just be conceptual at this point with the street names themselves, and figuring out how internally we want to have them addressed, or if we want to do 3 streets instead of just 1. It's something we can certainly discuss more.
Yeah, I think that's staff's issue. I just from a standpoint, that's fine. I just wanted to voice a little bit of a concern about some of the other developments that are recently within the last 5 years, and some of the street names don't make a lot of sense either. And so it's kind of a cautionary tale there, so to speak. So but thank you for answering.
I would agree. Some of the, I think you and I had that conversation of where the street names come from. And in my neighborhood, there's an intersection that literally, depending on which way you turn, the street name is different each way.
Yeah.
It's kind of confusing.
I understand.
Consistency is always good.
Mayor and Council, I was just going to comment. Our street naming ordinance is pretty light. Most communities I've been familiar with, they'll have parameters that a north-south street shall be an avenue or a street, and a east-west street will be this, and a cul-de-sac will be a place or a way, and things of that nature, so you get more consistency. We don't really have any good policy or ordinance kind of dictating a street convention naming. So as Bill said, we're relying on working with the fire department to find ways to name these, but our ordinance is quite light in guidance on how to name streets in the community.
That's something you might want to look at in the future, if the council so chooses.
It is something that we could look at in the future. The challenge we would likely run into is we've got many, many years of history in this community, and now trying to add something a couple hundred in might be a bit of a challenge.
Okay, beat that horse to death. We have a motion, is that correct? No, we need a motion to second.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion to second. Any further discussion on the resolution approving preliminary plat for Pickers? If not, clerk call the roll, please. Thanks, Bill.
Councilmember Ray?
Aye.
Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach? Aye. Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Resolution approving a plat of survey request for parcel 25035.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The applicant in this case is Herschel Parts Propco Incorporated, represented by Matt Thomas with Beanster & Kim, who is a professional land surveyor. The applicant is requesting approval of a plat of survey for an industrial lot located on North 14th Street. It's the southern quarter third of 1401 North 14th Street. Essentially, the property that's proposed to be separated, split is about 4.32 acres in area. It's currently, 1301 North 14th Street. The parcel occupies approximately the southern quarter of the current lot. So the plat of survey will be used for a transfer of ownership only if the developer chooses to construct anything, do any type of a site plan. That site plan would then be required to have a final plat to go with it. And both of those will be reviewed by Planning Commission and City Council. So this is strictly just for a transfer of ownership to allow that sale of that property, and then the developer can choose to develop it as he or she sees fit. When it comes to plats of survey, there are a few different options for how city staff can approve these. There are ones that are within the 2-mile buffer that are not within any priority growth areas, and those are ones that we can approve administratively. There are ones that are within 2 mile of the city limits, but within that priority growth area, and those are the ones that we'll review administratively and then take to Planning Commission and the City Council. And then there's ones that are in the City Council or in the city limits, which we'll typically bring before both committees anyway. So we feel that due to its industrial nature, industrial zoning, and potential for development, it was imperative that the Planning Commission and City Council both reviewed this proposal. The comprehensive plan identifies this area as industrial. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this plat of survey at their October 28th Planning Commission meeting. Staff recommends approval of this plat of survey. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
And here's the future land use map that shows it being industrial. And then I will note too, the back half of this lot is primarily stormwater detention easements. There is a water main that runs north to south through the middle of it, which we required them to put an easement around. And there's also a large easement at the south end of the site. So really the only developable area will be towards the front of the lot. Otherwise, it's the back half of it is pretty much undevelopable with easements.
Questions for Bill? We got a motion and a second. We need one. A motion and a second.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further questions? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Armstrong?
Aye.
Beach?
Aye.
Sones?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Reed?
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate your time.
Bill.
City Manager's report.
All right, tomorrow is election day for the city school election. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's more information about the races and different considerations on the city's website, so I'd encourage anyone to check that out who has not voted already. There will be some upcoming maintenance on Highway 65, 69. Our staff will be performing seasonal maintenance from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Wednesday, November 5th. Drivers will experience a temporary inside lane closure on Highway 65, 69 as part of the City of Indianola's seasonal median maintenance operation. So I just encourage drivers to show some caution as we have our park staff out there cleaning up those medians for the season. There will be a DOT patching project on Highway 65. The DOT will be removing portions of concrete panels and repaving. The work will start on November 11th and is expected to take 10 working days. I did clarify that they will be working on the holiday, even though the state offices and such will be closed on that day. There will be no full lane closures. In the 2-lane portions of 65, there will be flaggers to help manage the traffic. In the 4-lane sections, there will be single lane closures. Just a couple updates on some of our hiring processes that we have going. Public Works Director closed on October 24th. We had a total of 20 applicants. We did hold first round interviews with 6 of those candidates. We have narrowed those 6 down to 2 finalists, and we have final round interviews scheduled for this Thursday. The police chief closed on October 27th. We'll have a better idea later this week on the candidate pool from our consultants, and we do anticipate making an announcement on our next chief in the middle of December. Last item I have is just an update on the donation drive for Helping Hand of Warren County. Indianola Parks and Rec, Indianola Public Library, and the Indianola Wellness Campus are teaming up to support the helping hand of Warren County this holiday season. From November 3rd, today, through Wednesday, December 20th, donation bins will be available to collect personal care items for local families in need. They'll be located at the Indianola Parks and Recreation Building at 2204 West 2nd Avenue, so the Activity Center, Indianola Public Library at 207 North B Street, and then the Indianola Wellness Campus at 306 East Scenic Valley Avenue.
Thank you for that. I'm sorry.
Do you know if they're gonna be doing like the adopt a family type thing at all?
We can follow up.
If you could let me know, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. I had this on my list too, so to mention that, so we're good. I would also mention too that Home for the Holidays is Saturday, November 22nd. Right now, the plan is to have Santa and his elves at what is the former Harrison Building. November 30th is also a Small Business Saturday. And then I would remind everybody too about the green lights. If you can find some of your Christmas lights or green light and put it up based on our proclamation for veterans, that'd be great, so.
Oh, I should mention that we did have staff get some shades, some green light shades, and we will see the Tree of Life lit up in green.
Green right now.
It's green right now. So on your way out, take a look at our green Tree of Life.
All right, thank you very much.
Can I add to that reminder?
Yes.
Home for the Holidays Lighted Parade is also on the 22nd, and the registration to sign up for the parade is active. You can get signed up for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any items for future agenda items? If not, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are
Oh, good. That's all them, yeah.
But those are the ones. Yes. I love it. Good to see you, Les. Thanks, Bill.